well, here it is. One game down and another to go. If I asked myself, I would say that the biggest change I need to see out of Envy here to really turn things around is some more follow-up damage. Or obviously cohesiveness, I think we all agree on that. But as far as the draft is concerned, I'd like to see, honestly, I think the word is cohesiveness there. I sort of expressed it during the pregame of game number 1, where it just sort of seemed like they had a lot of initiation and no real follow-up, or just sort of different ideas going in different directions with their god pull selection.
In some ways, yes. I still think there was enough follow-up for Envy in that draft. Oceans just wasn't there that game. I mean, he did not have the strongest game on that Soul. Vetium really shined, and Oceans was at the bottom of the ocean, basically.
Yeah, definitely getting bullied that entire time, I would say. Every single time we cut over to that Vetium versus Oceans matchup, Vetium was on the tower or in the tower trying to poke out Oceans. Like, he was half health that entire game, I would say.
Here's a question that just an overarching meta question. How good is Soul? Is Soul valuable anymore? I feel like she's kind of past her prime.
Is Barracuda playing it?
Sure. I respect
Top
that
tier.
one. I respect.
SS. Everyone else, pretty good. It's all right.
Where do you think Soul shines the best? Is it in certain compositions, or?
I think it's definitely matchup and player dependent. Sometimes you see Souls bullying out the other enemy AD carry. It just depends on the player who's playing it and the opposition.
And to be fair, Met Yankee is the other like top tier Soul. He's not Barracuda level, but he's up there. That's a definite comfort pick for Met. But everyone else, I really have not been super impressed by their Soul play.
Yeah, I mean, Soul is supposed to bully the lane. She has exceptional wave clear. She's supposed to really gain dominance there. But like you said, every time we looked over to that long lane, it's Vetium just knocking on the door. Hey, Soul, I know you're home, and I'm here to punch you in the face. So it just didn't work out. It just didn't work out for Oceans. And I think that it was the god selection in general. Oceans should be the one with those hard carry gods. I like to see him on the Chronoses. I like to see him we saw him on the Ram earlier today. Those hard hunters, I think, really work out for Oceans.
We've seen him play Soul a little bit, and it's looked fine. That just wasn't the game for him. You know what I mean? Just seemed like an off game for him. Overall.
Yeah, Soul definitely a god you have to put the time in on. I know Soul was definitely one of his weaker gods, I would say, earlier on in the season, but he put the time in, and he was pretty much spamming Soul the entirety leading up to this land to make sure that it was in his arsenal for this land.
Absolutely. It's certainly a pocket pick that is valuable, I would say. I think that she's past her prime, but I agree that, I mean, if you're that good on her like Barracuda is or Met Yankee, you got to be able to bring that out. But at the end of the day, I don't know. I'm still out there. I get offended when I see her banned, unless it's against Barracuda. But Denial, they're not going to ban it this time. It'll be Isis, and we'll see the Nemesis as well on the side of Envy. I think keeping an eye towards the jungle with the bans for Envy is a good idea.
Yeah, it seems like Homiefe is not going to get that Nemesis anytime soon. It's been Ao Kuang basically permabanned against Denial, and now it seems like Nemesis is joining the Quanger Banger.
Yeah, it was interesting. Last game, Envy had first pick. They banned away the Nemesis and the Ao Kuang, but they didn't choose to first pick away the Thor. So Homie still got one of those gods that he was definitely really comfortable on, which is a little bit confusing.
Yeah, it was a strange thought process, to say the least. Denial's going to ban out the Terra. Envy's got one more. Which jungle do they ban?
It's gotta be
They could also just
be
leave both up and pick one. Leave Ao Kuang and Thor up, but then you give Ao Kuang to Homiefe.
Exactly. That's the problem, because you give Ao Kuang, and blah, blah, blah. So Ao Kuang will be the ban. I think that is absolutely the way to go. Do you think the Nemesis has to be banned against Homiefe as well?
At this point, yes. We've seen his god pool not look as good the deeper it goes. We saw him get really, really focused out, and he went to the Ratatoskr and still looked comfortable, so it's not an end-all, be-all that Homiefe gets one of those 3 junglers, but it's still, he's definitely got a different level whenever he's able to get one of those Nemesis, Ao Kuang, or Thor.
First pick Bacchus, game 1 and game 2. Different teams, but same idea. Denial always wanting, basically, if Shadowq has it available, he'll pick the Bacchus for the most part. Envy took it away from him last time. This time, Denial will have the first pick, so they'll get it. Envy, on the other hand, Ra Thor would be a strong combination, and Kiki definitely plays this Ra pretty well.
Yeah, Ra actually went completely unpicked over the last game, so I was a little surprised to see Kiki not go towards the Ra. He did have a really good performance on the Isis, though, so can't fault him for trying to run it back with that. But Ra Naja would have been a really good combo. Ra Thor also another really good combo.
And again, taking a jungler away from Homiefe that he's comfortable on. We'll have to see how well Skeeledon can do on it. He's been hit or miss overall. The best performance we've seen him so far this weekend has been on that Bastet earlier today, I would say. But putting another jungler in his hands, let's see how he does on this one.
So now taking a little bit of time to select their 2 gods here. I want I want to correct you a little bit, but not be too rude about it, so I'll
Sure.
tell a story.
Yeah, please
So
do.
it's Homiefe, okay? That's
Okay.
his name. It comes from Homie, Sly Fox. He's a YouTuber, right? You know
Okay.
Sly Fox?
Sure.
His fans are called the Homies, and then FE is the element for iron. He's just the iron homie.
So that was all a lie, and you did that entire story just to make this.
No, it's not a lie.
Joke.
That is absolutely where his name comes from. Homiefe. Helps to know your players.
Yeah? the Iron Homie, huh?
Hey, man, I called him the Iron Homie one time in
Is
like
that
season
why he
2.
uses Iron Gaming Thor as his skin?
Honestly, probably.
Wow.
Yeah, well,
So that's some synergy right there. That's like a stab bonus, basically.
he's not going to get the Thor this time. He'll get sort of the Thor clone Ratatoskr, unless we see that go to the solo lane, like we saw in a Cyclone. But for now, it's likely going to wind up in the jungle. Agni will be the selection for Hurriwind a second time. Do you think the Agni worked out well enough to warrant a second pick?
It definitely did work out well. You could see Homiefe doing a lot of mid-game initiations in mid onto Kiki, and Agni was definitely the perfect god to follow up on that. And actually, interestingly enough, Mike went away from the Athena. I was really expecting a third pick Athena here, but Sobek also does the job, just maybe not as comfortable of a pick for Mike.
Yeah, you know, I'm also surprised to not see the Athena. So with the Sobek, what does Sobek do that Athena doesn't, or why do you think Envy went in this direction versus the Athena?
Sobek is definitely a lot more pressure on the backline with the 3 and the 2, as well as the ult, just kind of zoning away an entire team for the duration.
Not as much global pressure from the Sobek, obviously no Defender of Olympus to move him around the map, but he does have extra CC in the kit. Not only do you have the charge prey, but you have the knock up on the tail whip, plus the big AoE slow that can really turn the difference in the team fights.
Also a little bit of a safer option. You can always go into that lurking in the waters if you do miss the pluck, whereas Athena, you kind of dash taunt and then you're kind of sitting there.
One of the big things that I think that Sobek adds to this team that's already there is Envy have a lot of good objective contest, not just secure. A lot of times when you see the Isis, the Isis ultimate isn't used to really like snatch the Gold Furies away, right? It's only on your turf. Well, the Ra, the Thor, the Sobek, all three of these selections will deter Denial from going for those Gold Furies or those Fire Giants and can really help Envy both secure them early and also make sure that Denial can't make use of it. Sun Wukong was played by Benji last game, and he'll make sure that he won't be playing against it this time around. Raven, Amaterasu, Vamana also banned out.
Wouldn't be surprised to see that locked in. Instead, it's going to be the Jing Wei for Oceans. With that god open, definitely would have been surprised. I would have been surprised if Jing Wei was open, but without it, I mean, he likes Izanami apparently.
I mean, sure, Izanami, interesting character, but at the end of the day, Jing Wei is one of the best characters in the game, in my personal opinion, so gotta go with it. Denial, they've got a support, a mid, likely a jungle. Ratatoskr hasn't been a flex. Where do you think Denial winds up here, Yannick?
Interestingly enough, there's 4 warriors banned away, and we saw a lot of Guardian solos being played in Group B. Not so much in Group D. Pretty much all of the solo laners favoring the warriors over the Guardians.
Ooh.
And I'm actually really surprised to see the Herc come out. I guess there's not a lot of warriors left on the table, so.
The Hercules is a character that I feel like only 2 players. It's such a relic of the past, right? And a lot of players complain about the fact that the Earthbreaker, the second ability, the flip, is just hard to hit. That's why you don't see it as often. Baskin plays a great Hercules. Maniac used to play a great Hercules. Rip Maniac. And Benji has a decent Hercules. Like you said, you're a little bit surprised to see him.
You're not going to bring up my man Divios?
Divios, the original Hercules.
He's Hercules, man.
All right. You're right. You know what? I roasted you before. You get to get me for that one.
Okay,
We're even.
Cyclone. This pick for CycloneSpin, it has to be Osiris, right? Like it's the obvious pick to me. It's a lane bully like Osiris, like he likes to play in Osiris. It shuts down the healing for Hercules. I feel like it's got to be the pick.
Nope, it's Odin.
I'm never right. Whenever I all in like that, I'm like, dude, he's gonna pick Osiris. I can go in here. I'll be safe. I'll look real smart. And then I don't.
You have no idea how happy I am that he didn't pick Osiris. But before we go, I do want to pick your brain, Yannick, about this Hercules. Why don't players like him? Why isn't he selected as often? And why do we see him here now?
I think there's just more reliable options. Like as more solo lane gods came out and as the solo lane meta developed, there's just always more reliable options. Amaterasu brings more in the late game. Ravana brings more in the early game. There's just really no identity for Hercules at this point.
So Hercules, he's a little bit he's underrepresented, but here he does get his time to shine. Denial versus Envy. Real quick, one word. Yannick, who wins?
Denial.
Aggro, who wins?
Denial.
Can't deny that one. It's Anatoly and it's Adonis. Bring us the game.
Denial.
Denial.
They've already qualified here, but Denial, honestly, really solid performance in game 1 against an EnVy, probably the best early game we had ever seen from EnVy. They were able to really adapt to that quickly here. And now Denial playing for seeding. They do have to face Soar to end their day, and so if they can find 2 wins there, they could actually take first seed. I think that's pretty important. Obviously, second seed does have to go against Eager, who looked incredibly dominant. But on the other side, LG looked pretty solid as well.
They did, but Denial could potentially 2-0 Soar. They found a split earlier on in this weekend.
Looking really good.
And they've been definitely looking a lot stronger as the days progressed. So I'm interested to see how that matchup's going to go. But heading into this one against EnVyUs, game number 2, EnVyUs has been looking a little bit more confident, even confident enough to pull out the double assassin comp before. And now CycloneSpin going from Warriors to the Assassins, and now heading into a Guardian for CycloneSpin on the Sobek.
I almost feel like after EnVy were out of it, right, coming into day 3 when they knew it was basically impossible unless they won all their game, they actually needed every set to go perfectly for them in a specific way to qualify. And then they just, I don't know, they're just playing a lot more fluid, you know, without that pressure on the back. I think they did come here, obviously, as the underdog, but a team that, you know, thought they would perform a little bit better than they have.
And they've been making the adjustments with their comforter picks, like we mentioned before. We saw the Bastet coming out of Skeeledon, which is not something that we're used to seeing out of him. Pulling a page out of DJ's book, even Shattered as well. So, and then switching things up for the Ratatoskr onto CycloneSpin. Now we're seeing Sobek out of him. So pulling more of a Divio style here for CycloneSpin.
So. Let's talk about his lane opponent, though. Benji. Haven't really seen a Hercules in quite some time. I mean, is this just Benji wanting to play this god after already qualifying, or do you think this is a real thing that Denial have?
I think this is more about him wanting to expand his god pool just to see if he can actually get away from this. Now, Hercules is a great god coming into team fights, but it's not always the most reliable god. You have to hit your pulls, which is not the easiest thing in the world with the travel time.
But we always do talk about LAN. You know, it's easier to hit abilities, most notably that, you know, the Agni 2-1 stun combo. And I'd say Hercules is the same thing. We see a lot more players lean on Hercules in LAN compared to online stages because it's a lot easier to hit those pools.
And something we haven't seen out of Denial was the counter matchup that they could have potentially had by picking Odin instead of Hercules there, just to be able to try to shut down Kiki if they really wanted to. But instead, it's actually PBM that last picks the Odin.
It's surprising.
Yeah, right? You think about it, but it's a great idea because you're trying to lock down this Hercules, the Agni, the Ram, these late game gods. It's so smart.
I already know I didn't play Odin. Remember the last time Cyclone had an Odin versus Hercules matchup against Omega? It was his.
Yes.
It was the end of CycloneSpin being the best player in the world.
Yes.
He jumped in lane, got pulled under tower by Omega, pushed and first blooded, and we never have seen CycloneSpin play at the level he did before.
So you're thinking that EnVyUs wanted the Sobek Jing combo in the duel late, but once they saw the Hercules, they were like, nope.
Yeah, Cyclone's like, no, I'm not dealing.
He has those flashbacks from Vietnam.
I mean, maybe it was the. I mean, maybe if he did take the matchup though and won, maybe then we'd see Cyclone become the best player in the world again, right?
That would be
get
a
over
good
his
time.
demons.
Good time to redeem himself, to be reborn again. You can say.
Come on, man. Come on, Phoenix. None of that. None of that today. Right now, though, nothing happening too much. Denial actually not getting lane pressure. It's pretty even. Again, something that Oceans and PolarBearMike have struggled with throughout this event.
And this is something that we're going to see more of between Skeeledon and Kiki, that setup with a wall into the beams. Once the level 5 comes online for Kiki, expect a lot of burst damage, especially if Shadowq gets caught out of position with that belly flop being down.
Again, though, we need to see EnVy be those initiators. We need them to force the issue, as some commentators would say. They've really just been reacting to whatever their opponents do. And we see, you know, what Eager have done with the kind of stun into raw combo was they were the ones forcing every fight.
They have to, when you have gods such as the Arlong Sheng being able to set up, and now Homie, he wanted to go into the jungle wall, perfectly cutting him off, and that was only the Celestial Beam coming out of Kiki. If he added the Searing Pain there, Homie would be in the red. He wouldn't even be able to come near these Harpies or the Fire Giant Elementals to contest them.
Probably would have had to burn Purification to get out of that one if he heard the Searing Pain charged up, but for now he holds it. And a rotation coming from PolarBearMike. Oh, Skeeledon waiting around the corner as well. PBM is not 5 off of these creeps he will be. Now does have the cage. Again, Agni not going to be able to get out of that one. Ratatoskr has to burn his ult. Vetium's going to be locked in as well. Same with Benji. So a lot of options for PolarBearMike, and Vetium just continuing to just outplay Oceans in these early game laning phases.
Such good accuracy coming out of Vetium, not missing a single in-hand there. But now EnVyUs, they are trying to steal the speed buff away from Homiefe. The bomb stun connects. Searing Pain, I believe, did secure that one.
Homiefe has to take to the sky. Skeeledon goes up as well, and Homiefe drops down, tries to get the knock-up. Skeeledon finally collapses here, stuns Shadowq, but Envy on the retreat right now. Shadowq slowing down PBM. Vetium has made the rotation around the side, has his ult, but it doesn't look like Denial want to force a fight just yet. Actually, setting up for this speed invade now.
It's going to be another back and forth instance where these buffs are just being traded one for one. We saw Skeeledon stripping away Homie. Now the question is, can Envy defend their own red buff? The Wrath was used and secured. Shadowq picking up the snipes, coming away. Kiki solo gets pulled back in. Driving strike not even necessary. 2 dead for Envy.
And now Ocean's in a bad spot, 1v3, but Envy not going to be able to lose him just yet. Homiefe going to take a lot of damage. CycloneSpin does come up with the kill, now surrounded by 2, but he's got PBM in support. Hurriwind's rotated in as well. The boulder and the knockup. Benji takes out Oceans with that bounce back, and that's the Hercules we haven't seen in a while, just in those tight corridors.
Stuck between a rock and a hard place between the boulder. I think that boulder actually connected all 3 times on those 2 characters. Finding those kills was so impactful, and now Denial, they were able to respond back in spades. They lost their speed buff, but they stuck one into them. They found 3 kills, only losing 1 in the process, and then stealing the speed buff away.
And Vetium's another jungler now getting the fire elementals. Vetium and Oceans haven't been to their lane in about 2 minutes. I mean, just so much grouping right now.
I love the action between these 2 teams. We saw a lot of this kind of action in the last game, but there were just no kills in response, unfortunately, right? But now this time around, all the kills are there. There's so much impact between this Agni and the Hercules that we saw quite there, and that could be a foreshadowing of what's to come later on.
Kiki going aggressive here onto Homiefe, found in the jungle. Kiki at the edge of Denial's tower there, but he's in trouble. Homiefe coming down, but Homiefe's by himself. Kiki actually ults the wave. Benji around from the backside. PolarBearMike looking for Homie with the help of Skeeledon. They do find the kill. The snipes! Is that all 3? It is! Oh, Kiki somehow, barely, on less than 50 health survives.
And what is that saying that Hindu man says? When somebody barely gets away, cheeky bum time or something like that?
It's squeaky bum time.
Squeaky bum time. That's exactly what it was.
You're holding
Kiki.
those cheeks, and he gets hit, and he still lives. He's like, how did I live?
10 health coming out of Kiki. They're barely able to survive. I like the fact that he used his Searing Pain just to ignore the knockup coming out of Homiefe. Being able to stay alive there was so important. And then counter ultimate from Skeeledon being able to chase down Homiefe. EnVyUs definitely have their tactics online. They're being able to take advantage of the aggressiveness coming from Denial.
About a 1K gold lead right now. Cyclone just off the mark, trying to put some pressure onto Benji. PBM has rotated over as well. We haven't really seen Envy take the aggressive cages just yet. Again, they have a really good counter, right? Hercules not going to be able to heal, can't get out at all. Homiefe has to burn his ult. Hurriwind's got no option. Shadowq does have a jump, but Vetium's got it's really only Shadowq who has that reliable escape from the cage.
And PolarBearMike really wants to start using this cages, getting the stacks of his passive online, build those physical power. And we see his build. He's building into the Warrior Tabby, not electing to go for the Reinforced Greaves. He doesn't really care about the CC, the cool crowd control reduction, or the defenses coming from that item. Instead, he wants to go for the burst kills, especially when you have Thor and Ra on your side. It's not a bad idea.
Surprisingly enough, though, we see a lot of Odin players go for the blink instead. PolarBearMike electing for the shell, so he is going to have to kind of jump in to initiate. And actually, he's going to be in trouble there. Gets his shield off, and that is going to save his life for now. Shadowq can't close the gap, but is looking for the stun on Skeeledon. Hurriwind, no bombs available to him, and the heal going to make sure Envy's healthy.
I think Shadowq was thinking about moving a little bit more forward, dropping the Intoxicate, and the rest of his team commit to that tier 1 mid tower, but it seems that they wanted to go for a more safe option. Look for the Intoxicate around the speed buff. This is where both teams are starting to look aggressive, but now Ocean's rotating with his passive.
3-man
Intoxicate!
PolarBearMike pushed into the wall. The cage goes out, but the backline of Envy is in shatters. Homiefe trying to juke out for now. The snipes off the mark. 1 to the sky. Here comes Skeeledon, finds Homiefe. Hurriwind answers back on a Kiki. Shadowq very low and Denial overcommitted.
2 for 1. Denial gets punished for their aggressiveness, and now EnVyUs, they stop the back of
Hurriwind. What is
nowhere
that?
to go. Oh my god. God, Kiki. I saw Kiki just put his hands up. He's always been so happy about wanting to taunt people that make those silly plays, man.
I mean, he was dead, to be fair, so Kiki actually has been screaming a ton. This day 2, day 1 he was quiet, you know, normal Kiki. Day 2 he's just like yelling at you, but he has the nicest insults.
That's so true. He said? I think he said one time, like, you're a special snowflake.
Did he?
I want to be a special snowflake.
You trust me. You are special.
Yeah.
Pinchy. Right hand side. The Hercules, I mean, it's been working out. He's 2-0-1. We haven't really seen him punished, though, by Envy for this pick. PolarBearMike hasn't set up a single gank onto him. And to be honest here, he is against a Sobek who doesn't really have that early game laning pressure to, you know, kind of shut him down. Might have overextended here. Good wall, good body blocks as well from Envy. The boulder, it doesn't get to bounce off the wall. It ended just in time, and Benji just kind of pushed up by himself for about 30 straight seconds, and Envy do finally get the kill.
Unfortunately, just now finishing off the Genji's guard. It was at tier 2 right before that dev. Didn't really have the magical defense to survive, but it didn't matter because Skeeledon was there bringing the pain on the physical side of things. And this is the problem with solo mentality sometimes. You want to be able to steal or contest the blue buff invades, but you just overstep for a little bit too long. The rotations between the Thor and the Ra are too quick. There's too much mobility between the Ra passive and using the hammer just to cut the distance, or even the ultimate.
Well, after, you know, kind of all those fights that were going on, Ocean's found himself with about a couple hundred gold lead. Also has that ick file, so he's regained the lane control onto Vetium, who's going to be forced to back, now just finishing Devourer's gauntlets. And no gold fury even looked at by either team. It's really been a focus into Envy's speed buff where all the fights have happened.
Even to Denials, we saw how aggressive Envy was at initially stealing the first speed buff of the game. And that's why we saw Denial start making the initial push. But now Skeeledon, he's going to go into the sky. He wants to be able to help out CycloneSpin. Maybe he could be the target.
Oh, no, it's going to be Homiefe. Good Intoxicate, though. Homiefe is going to be able to escape to the tower. Shadow served up into the middle of Envy. One more hit. The kill goes to Skeeledon. He's got 4 to his name this game. This has been a great set for him overall. Definitely really coming into his own on day 3.
Just not really grouped up as Denial, and that's something that they're known for, just being able to defend their own buffs, being able to contest and start going into team fights. If Hurriwind was there a little bit earlier, Shadowq would have been able to really get out. They were all grouped up around that little corridor behind the Fire Giant. Bombs would be prime real estate, but now Benji, caught in an awkward position under his own tower, goes down as well.
Cage not even needed, and just Benji by himself. I mean, we saw Envy as a team really grouped up there, surprised that Benji pushed up at all, and no gold fury taken. I mean, there was 4 members on the right-hand side, Homiefe, Hurriwind, and Vetium all in mid. No one even looks at it. I mean, that would have been free. All you had to worry about was Oceans. I mean, the Wrath was down. I guess they just wanted to play it safe.
I mean, to be fair, Oceans does have a lot of damage to be able to stop them with the airstrike, as well as maybe finding the perfect knock-up to get them out of that gold fury circle. We see Freya's whoop anyone that's in that gold fury circle just to reset it, so that's a very annoying tactic that EnVyUs always has to worry about.
Well, early game went all Denial, I think 4-1, but Envy have answered back. They've gotten 7 kills, I believe, in a row unanswered. Really good job from them, and PolarBearMike has just been all around this. This is just kind of been a team deathmatch at this point. It's just fighting in the mid, 4v4. I mean, we've barely seen the Hunters in their own lanes.
And this is what you have to do when you're playing Odin in the support position. You have to be able to snowball with this kind of aggressive build, going for the Warrior Tabi, building those stacks, getting extra physical power. But now Vetium forced to roll back under his tier 2 tower. Skeeledon's ultimate is still available, so if Vetium oversteps just a little bit, he'll be in trouble.
PBM really wants this, and red buff is going to be stolen away. Ocean's going to be able to pick it up, refresh his own. Shadowq, though, looking for the reinitiation, finds 2. Homiefe to the sky, Skeeledon up in the air as well. The question is, who's going to come down first? Homiefe holding his, waiting for Skeeledon to ult, and Skeeledon's out of there. Same with Oceans. He airstrikes away. Envy don't like this fight, and a good wall going to deter from Shadowq from chasing down.
No possible way can Denial chase that down once the ultimates were used. The wall cutting out their pathing rotation, but they could try to go for this gold here early on. The bombs are available for Hurriwind to really take advantage of. The snipes from Vetium. Looking at the ultimates out of Envy, they still have the Kiki's ultimate, and that's something you cannot ignore.
Yeah, I mean, Wrath does a lot of damage, but you still don't want to have them. We've seen teams miss up timings on both Ice Assault on that Wrath where they'll do it a little bit early, and Envy going to take this opportunity. Vetium is trying to stop this, but Envy get a gold fury, and now have about a 2K lead.
Perfect rotation from CycloneSpin, being able to teleport there with Lurking in the Ward, with his own Wrath available. We didn't see Shadowq in position to really steal that one away, and now with that kind of a play, like you mentioned before, EnVyUs have 7 unanswered kills. They steal or they sneak a very easy early gold Fury, I would say. So now it's Denial that have to play defensively.
And you can see Shadowq really starting to fall behind. 2 levels so far. Benji down a level. I mean, a pretty good job from him overall. We did see 2 ganks set up onto him. And actually, Hurriwind does have a lead onto Kiki and starting to work on that Divine Ruin, really trying to shut down that healing.
It's a smart pickup. It has been buffed recently for about 20 magical power, and it's a good idea to try to limit the mobility because your one bomb will cover the whole area of that one heal.
A lot of team fight. Yeah, I mean, Agni's going to hit 3 people easy in a team fight if he's playing it properly and, you know, not getting dove in the back line by some annoying, you know, Thor jungle gets the protections. But Aggro's grinning. He's been asking for Divine Ruin forever, and just no one wants to pick it up in mid lane at all for some reason. They're like, but it hurts my damage. I have 40 less power.
What if that's a Polynomicon?
If that's a Polynomicon, Hurriwind better have misclicked it.
Well, either way, it's going to be the Divine.
There's the Divine Ruin.
Just to make aggro a little bit more annoying.
Probably does it on purpose.
I heard you like this item.
So I'm not going to buy it.
I'm not going to buy it ever.
But I'm going to come close. I'm going to get the tier 2.
Just to tease it a little bit.
For 10, and then I'm going to get a Polynomicon, which is not too good in the early game.
And now we see Homiefe caught in the jungle a little bit, baiting for the bombs over the wall by Hurriwind, and now Shadowq jumping over, and now Skeeledon goes into it.
PolarBearMike, where's the cage? Homiefe would have been forced to ult. Now he gets to ult on the initiations, finds PBM, knocks him up, jumps over the wall. Here's CycloneSpin around the corner. Kiki as well has the snipe. No, the snipe is down, and he's caught before he can get into the tower. The boulder over the wall, double taps Kiki, and the bomb just shy of finishing him off. Homiefe gets away from CycloneSpin as well. And Denial, they find the kill they want onto Skeeledon. EnVy's group, that was just real awkward. I mean, that was only 2 people, when typically we see EnVy, you know, the full-on invade from them.
It was the bomb stunts by Hurriwind over the wall that really set that one up. Homiefe did a great job baiting himself around that speed buff. It seemed that EnVyUs wanted to try to contest it earlier on, but now it's going to be a clean 1-0. Homiefe barely able to get away with that one with his life. Nothing to take, though, off of it. Gold Fury is still going to be respawning in about 2.5 minutes. All the buffs are still down.
Shoutouts to the Iron Homie, right? 0-3-5 against a Thor who's 4-2-3, and the same level. Can we actually hover over Homie? Yeah, very close in experience as well, about, you know, a quarter of a level separating. He is down some gold, but doing a really good job farming up. Probably annoying Vetium there, splitting a wave with him.
And that's something that he really wants to do, is to be able to bait himself. He has the built-in sustain into his kit. He's going to be able to be relatively tanky with that Void Shield. However, it's only going to be really benefiting him against the Thor. We saw that PolarBearMike didn't really want to commit many cooldowns in that engagement because of that perfect bomb stun.
Benji here, going to get ganked again. He is going to be stunned. CycloneSpin charging his ult, but it just tickles him. That Genji Garb doing a ton. Also that Winged Blade helping him space himself when that ultimate was forced. PolarBearMike does find a cage in the jungle, just trying to stop Denial's rotations, and here's the rest of EnVy.
Homiefe was forced to use the Purification against CycloneSpin's charge
prey,
but the pull gets clipped against the wall, and that's another annoying interaction, unfortunately, for Hercules players. It's like, you might find the pull, but if you're behind a wall or around the corner, it will not connect directly to where you are.
Also wasting both their knockups there. Obviously, the pull from Benji and Shadowq's belly flop there couldn't obviously knock him up when he's already in the air. But now EnVy looking for the speed buff invade. The last time they did this did not go too successfully. And again, it's only 2 members. No, excuse me, 3 members are there now. Here comes Homiefe down, finds the knockup. EnVy just trying to disengage. Kiki still on the front line, sitting in his heal. The bombs not going to connect, and so that healing's still going to have that full effect.
Skeeledon was able to steal that one away, so 4-man commitment on the right-hand side of the map. Meanwhile, both of the hunters are still in mid lane trying to farm it up. Nice little sidestep, avoiding that roll shot from the Ram player. So overall, EnVyUs still feeling very confident despite their last loss. You know, they're making the offensive plays.
I'm actually really surprised we don't see a team leave their hunter in the duo. I mean, both are rotating, obviously, because the team fights are breaking out. But, I mean, if Denial just play it passively, concede their speed buff, I mean, Vetium's going to get free farm. Because we see Oceans, right? He's always in those fights with EnVy.
It just seems that both hunters are doing a good job maximizing their farm. They get the wave in the left-hand side of the map, and then they immediately go to mid because they know that the other hunter has to defend that wave, or they're going to lose too much gold, too much experience. So it's all about maximizing the farm, get the levels online. We saw how big of a factor Vetium was the last game once he got to level 20 on this ROM.
I mean, he was a factor before that. That kid, that was one of his best games we've seen from him in a while. I think we saw him miss one snipe, and that was because Skeeledon ulted away from it.
That defensive nausea ultimate, and that's why we saw EnVy do a 180, having to go from offensive Naja ults into the defensive ones definitely hurt EnVy that last game.
And this is just such a hard counter build in that solo lane. The second CycloneSpin ult, obviously he's not looking for a kill, you know, wants to regen a little bit of mana, clear the wave, but that Winged Blade kicks in on Benji, and he's just able to outrange the Sobek.
Even able to out-rotate him. Now he's in the mid lane trying to look for a play, but going to go back into the right to get the farm. He realizes nothing's about to pop off in mid quite yet. Both teams trying to be careful now with this gold here respawning. It's a very valuable objective heading into the 18-minute mark, and both teams can really start going for this with the double wraps available. One for Cyclone, one for Shadowq.
And you see PBM putting in those deep wards, just wanting full vision on where Denial are in their backline. Because I think EnVy really want to start this up, you could tell, because then they're going to know where Denial are at all points deep into their own jungle. A little bit caught out here. Denial in an awkward spot. Ocean's on the side, and Denial's just got to back off.
EnVy have to fight this because Shadowq is only level 11. He doesn't have that second relic slot quite yet. 2 teamfight relics for PolarBearMike. He has the blink to initiate, maybe catch the Agni, the Herc, and the Rama, and there's no Phantom quite yet for Denial to get out of those cages.
This is a bait, Kiki. Starting up the Gold Fury, bombs over the wall, and EnVy might be a little bit scared to force this fight. Everyone's here. I mean, all 10 members, both really focusing on this Gold Fury right now. Let's actually listen into Denial as they try and take this engagement.
No. Thor. I'm sniping.
Thor, Aegis.
Xingwei dash in the back.
I'm plucked. I'm with Shadow.
Careful south. Coming.
They're on Shadow. They're gonna plug him in a second.
Yeah, plucked.
I'm on Jing.
Still on me.
I'm on Jing.
I don't have anything. I just have autos.
I'm really low.
They have TP when I spawn.
Oh my god, he's dead.
I'm blocked.
No one can help you, Vetium.
Hey,
Did you grow one? You can maybe live.
Just have Phantom.
I'm dead.
If you
You
can
can
buy
maybe-
time, I have TP, but I'm up.
You can go maybe. They don't have like any damage literally.
They're just on gold.
Yeah, they have no damage.
You can
buy
yeah,
time
go.
for my
You should
TP.
go, Shadow.
Thor doesn't have TP, yeah.
Yeah, I
also
don't
Rattle.
know.
They have really low damage. Odin jump
Oh,
and
we have
run.
hog, we have hog.
I don't think they're doing it. Yeah,
Oh,
they're
sorry
not.
there.
Yeah. The trolling comes. Okay.
I'm not trolling, I'm like...
We're counter trolling.
They could be going. They're going for speed. So Sobek takes
Wait.
speed right now.
Okay, we're actually in really good shape.
He's not.
Our comp is like way better. I think we should...
He's
He's
away
away
with
for
this
this.
soon. Are they on fire, homie?
Really good fight from EnVy there. I think the only misplay we really saw was CycloneSpin tail whipping away out of Kiki's ultimate, but really that cage kind of disrupting Denial. They weren't able to fight as a unit because of that.
And we heard when Shadowq revived, I have Phantom now, right? He didn't have it for that last engagement. That could have been the turning point for Denial to make sure that they get out of it as quickly as possible and then force the re-engage afterwards. Kiki has been doing such a good job playing carefully off of the aggression coming from CycloneSpin and PBM's ultimates.
Hurriwind also making a fantastic play in the end there. Obviously, we saw Denial kind of all out of mana, but Hurriwind managed to kill Oceans. I mean, if Oceans is alive there, that's a gold Fury for
Absolutely.
EnVy. I mean, Shadowq, yeah, sure, he ran up to it eventually, but it took him a long time to get there. It would have been shredded with that Jingwei.
So smart to take out a late game Hunter that can absolutely melt these objectives, but now it's going to be a grouping up around the mid lane. EnVyUs, they still want to utilize their long range setup here with a Thor or maybe get some more cages off. It wouldn't be a bad idea to try to find a cage and force some cooldowns because that cage is such a shorter cooldown than this Phantom is from Shadowq.
Ooh, knock up there, trying to find Hurriwind, but he does dodge it. That was fun listening to. Every minion walk through the gust.
Can you reenact that for us?
No, I've tried to do reenactments before. They never turn out good.
Well, either way, it's going to be EnVyUs grouping up now in the Gold Fury. They're still going to be utilizing some of their objective control with this
EnVy
Odin cage.
trying to reenact this fight, but it's Homiefe who forces the engagement. Skeeledon comes down. Hurriwind way overextended by himself. Shadowq in tow with him. The snipe is sanctuaried out. The cage, the Phantom, comes in big. Now Shadow on the reinitiation. Vetium finds the first stops and the third double kill for Vetium. His ROM play has been out of this world this game. And now Denial, they could set up for their own Gold Fury.
That's the turning point right there. That one Phantom. Hurriwind baited himself out a little bit too overzealous there, I would say, up really far out there, but either way gets bailed out by Shadowq. A perfect re-engage with the belly flop to intoxicate, but EnVy are not done yet. They want to try to steal this one away. Cyclone has the Wrath.
And Denial do secure, but Shadow in a little bit of trouble. He's flinged back into the team, but Vetium's already taken out PolarBearMike. Cyclone pops out early, and Shadowq, he lives. Homie takes out CycloneSpin. Only only Kiki remains alive. In this game, it was going so good for Envy, but immediately turned on its head in one fight. The Gold Fury picked up as well, and now a 2K lead for Denial.
4 kills for Denial. The Gold Fury to their name, and now they're pushing down the mid lane. Should easily get this tier 1 mid tower. They don't want to overextend with the respawns coming from EnVyUs. Gonna back off, spend all that gold in hand, and then continue for some tier 1 towers. We even see Benji on the left-hand side.
Just gonna be able to try and push this tower down. Oceans is back, but almost over 2,000 for Homiefe. Agni very close there as well, so Hurriwind's going to be able to finish off that Obsidian Shard, really increases damage. You could see a fair amount of, not actually raw magical protection, but I mean those Spirit's Robes and also the Pestilence being started up by CycloneSpin, that's going to be a little bit less effective now in the next engagement.
It's going to be a nice pickup for the Spirit's Robe. Every time you get plucked by CycloneSpin or even tail whipped, it's going to mitigate so much follow-up damage coming from Kiki and Skeeledon. So it's a very universal defensive item, I would say.
I'm actually surprised we don't see Spear the Maggots onto the Agni. I mean, he's going to stack it on basically everyone in the fight. And I mean, Shadowq's damage, in the later stages isn't super high, but I mean, that's got to be better for him overall.
It wouldn't be a bad idea, but I think that what Hurriwind really wants to do is get the damage up, and now PBM going to get pushed and knocked up, and now Thor in the sky, landing down. Shadowq barely taking any damage. Benji's ultimate not really connecting onto anybody there, but the Fire Giant aggro has been made. The ultimate from Homiefe a little bit off the mark on the right-hand side. Skeeledon very low, but Hurriwind dashes in, gets instantly peeled away by Cyclone, though.
Good pluck, but now Cyclone in a little bit of trouble. He is a very tanky Sobek, and now chasing out Hurriwind. Hurriwind, Sanctuary not up, 1 health, and his team's juking. CycloneSpin finds it. Kiki snipes through the middle. Vetium takes out CycloneSpin finally, and now Denial are pushing forward. Oceans in the back line, trying to box out Vetium, but immediately the team responds, looking for the peel, and Oceans has to get out.
He baits out the Sanctuary from Vetium. They're still engaging a little bit further. There is no ultimate for the snipes, and that's going to allow the rest of Envy to really abuse this raw heal even further. Without Hurriwind alive, they don't have that anti-heal coming from that Divine Ruin with the bomb stuns. Yet again, a little too overzealous. He was a little bit too far out, so he had to try to dash aggressively just to try to kill Skeeledon. But then the damage coming from CycloneSpin, it just didn't seem that the Sanctuaries were available
the timing
from Hurriwind. Yeah,
it was like 10 seconds left. It was so unfortunate that fight happened right there. Again, feeling kind of the consequences of their earlier fights, having to burn those relics at that first Gold Fury attempt. Sure, they managed to trade out Oceans there, but I mean, those are really long cooldowns.
Definitely something that they have to respond to. They can't be forcing engagements without these very important defensive cooldowns, especially on this level 17 Agni, where they're relying so heavily on just to be able to counter the sustain coming out of Kiki. So the rest of Denial have a little bit of a goal lead, but they can't be this far overextended. EnVyUs have options to come back into this game.
I mean, this is Deadium, all right? We're 25 minutes in, 1700. That's like a tier 1 and someone outwarding the other team. Nothing too crazy right now, and Homiefe continues to just be this monster when it comes to farming. 1 for it. Now he has 10 assists, but still 2 levels above Skeeledon, who once again got started off incredibly strong.
So even though Homiefe might have a bad scoreline, looking at Vetium's scoreline, 6-1-4, he's just been on point. But now the belly flop onto PBM, the ultimate defensively, trying to get the rest of Denial away. But the boulder from the backhand, zoning out Oceans and Kiki.
PolarBearMike jumps over the wall, the snipe just off the mark, but Benji still finds the kill, and Envy in a lot of trouble in their tier 2. They're intoxicated, plucked back into the team. Hurriwind finds one, CycloneSpin tries to get some damage off, and now Envy in a bad spot. Denial grouped up for this Fire Giant.
This one makes Hercules so good. Finding that pull at the last second to be able to pluck him away from that tier 2 tower. This makes him such a solid pick in these stages of the game where people are trying to reposition themselves. That one pull changed the whole dynamic of the team fight. Now Ocean's caught in some trouble. Gonna be able to agility back under the tower, avoiding the bomb, trying to trade the in-hands, but the airstrike not in time. And meanwhile, Envy is able to get something out of this, getting the Fire Giant.
CycloneSpin on the side there, taunting his way.
Wait. CycloneSpin stole the Fire Giant?
Wow, just like... yeah, he deserves to taunt there. Homie finds Kiki. Denial still grouped up, but CycloneSpin, huge play while everyone is dealing with Kiki, and even right now, he's so tanky, he's just distracting Denial. They get the tier 1 on the right. I mean, maybe we can get a replay for that. Not exactly sure how it happened, but CycloneSpin Probably going to get picked up finally. Does have his ultimate. Now he wants Shadowq. The dash is down. He pops early and just out of range of Shadow.
Unfortunately, he sacrificed himself, but it was for the greater good. He denies Denial from getting the Fire Giant. There's a 1 to 2 second difference between these Wrath cooldowns. It seems that CycloneSpin was a little bit quicker on the trigger finger with Shadowq. It seems that maybe what happened was lurking in the water, tail flip, disrupting the flow of Shadowq being able to get the confirmed Wrath.
That's not easy. I mean, he was, surrounded by 3 players there, but somehow CycloneSpin steals away the Fire Giant. I mean, I thought that was going to be the start of the Denial snowball, but now they're going to have to wait for about 4 minutes. Fire Giant off every member of EnVy, but still Denial aren't going to be able to have that, sustain to match up to the Raw. They need to be a lot more careful with their sieges.
As long as that they can confirm the bombs coming from the Agni to limit the healing from Kiki, they should be in a good spot. They got the Gold Fury, extending the goal lead a little bit more, about 4,500, forcing the ultimate out of these 2 global pressure gods. Not the worst thing in the world, especially with Benji being this far in the back. The wall, nowhere to go, and the cage. Now he has no healing.
He's gonna throw. Whoa, Skeeledon actually teleports short. He still takes the damage, and now Benji very low. Is he still gonna survive? PolarBearMike overextended. Shadowq flops into the tier 2. I mean, this is just devastating. We've seen so many of those kills slip through the fingers of EnVy.
Phantom, yet again, pulling its own way, being able to save Benji's life here. And now Denial, they have a 5-on-4 power play. They're going to try to siege this there's tier 1 tower on the left-hand side. Benji is a little bit low, though, so he could still get bursted out. Kiki has his ultimate that does a lot of damage, as well as CycloneSpins.
And again, without that Fire Giant, no regen. And that's going to hurt Denial. They got a kill onto PBM, and they managed to keep Benji alive, but it's not enough to siege up a tower. Really good job there from EnVy, managing to hold on. Only keeping the gold difference at about 5,000. I mean, this is still manageable for them. We're 29 minutes into this game.
Absolutely. 5,000 gold at 29 minutes is nothing compared to 5,000 gold at the 10-minute mark. It seems that EnVyUs has been making the adjustments just to be able to mitigate the damage control coming out of Denial, because at this point in the game, EnVy already lost at this point in the game, the last game.
And just looking at their builds, I mean, they're pretty close to full on there. Ocean's going for kind of a budget build, a lot of very cheap items, but he's only working on that Wind Demon is what I'm assuming is going to be his last item. PolarBearMike, incredibly tanky with just those 3. We've seen him, it's taken a lot of investment to finish him off. And then Kiki, very close to that Rod of Asclepius being done, or excuse me, the Rod of Tahuti being done. Already has the Asclepius.
And that's such a great utility item yet again for Kiki. We saw him pick up the Gem of Isolation on the Isis the last game, being able to get more slows on slows on slows, and this time being able to synergize the healing that he's able to put out, able to get a little bit more health, to get a little bit more tanky, increasing his mobility, not even to mention he has a lot of mobility with his passive, getting about 5% extra movement speed per stack.
And Skeeledon, almost level 20. Also, almost finishing his build. He's got a Magi's Blessing finishing off. I mean, is it wise to go Magi's over Spirit's Robe here with how many options Nile have to take that off?
At this point, it would be very crucial to get Magi's Blessing, just to ignore the 1 pull from Benji or the bomb stun to set up the pull, especially if your Purification is on cooldown. Just imagine Skeeledon having to use that ultimate offensively, diving the backline, and then all of a sudden he just gets knocked around every which way.
Well, 55 seconds before Fire Giant spawns. You can see both teams now starting to surround it. Neither team wants to let this go. CycloneSpin coming up with some kind of steal. We didn't really get to catch it there, but out-wrathing Shadowq obviously has a ton of CC as well. And Denial look like they want to fight. PolarBearMike a little bit hesitant though. His team's not grouped up. Still very split up. Let's actually listen into Denial. I want to hear what they're planning to do for this.
Do we have Phantom? Yeah, we can play it.
I basically
we can look now. We can look now.
Look.
Okay.
Hit Thor maybe.
We have ward control too.
It's
Thor hammer. Hey, look, push in.
Yeah, I'm pushing.
We're just gonna have to force fire when it comes up. We don't want to do it at all.
Can we force right tower? Or just push the way with me?
No, we should just wait for fire, I think.
Just pushing him mid.
Push that mid.
I want to keep right.
We should really push.
Definitely. Sorry.
They're on top. The Mecha Salt.
They're on top. Look at this. One Sobek. I'm gonna poke him though.
Yeah.
I saw bombs.
You're on Odin maybe? Or...
I saw.
I check out.
There's spread.
We Phantom.
They're poked. Yeah, 5. Watch for Sobek.
Heal up.
We can't burn Sobek has hug.
Yeah.
Do we have hug?
Just look for a bit.
Okay.
Always.
There's Thor wall, Thor hammer.
Fucking check.
Going dash down, going dash down.
They're up here, they're up here.
Odin.
I'm on Sobek.
Come on, Sobek, Odin, cage. Come on, Jing.
I'm ulting.
Jing all down,
Thor hammer down. I'm looking at Jing.
I just want to get some.
We can kill.
Fuck, I missed. Nice!
Okay, I'm on Sobek. We do.
Okay, yeah, I'm like, bro, this is
No, get.
Who likes fight?
Fire.
You guys should
Reset?
Please. We still have 50 seconds.
Yeah.
That's right.
You could hear Denial a little bit hesitant to go for the fire. Now they're caught out. A couple of them lazy backing, and now Skeeledon's going to zone them out. Hurriwind's caught. Cyclone finds a kill. Two-man pluck, though, and that's going to set up for Homiefe, who's rotated back in. Skeeledon trying to get away the Sanctuary in time. Benji closes the gap, finds the kill, answers back 1 for 1.
Trading the jungler for the mid laner, but not having Hurriwind is so problematic because they don't have any anti-healing options to deal with Kiki. EnVyUs could potentially look for something once Oceans does revive. The 4-on-4, I think I would have to give a little bit more advantage to Envy here.
At this point, I mean, they're playing really well, and you can see Benji there, you know, just looking for that pluck on Cyclone, gets plucked himself back. PolarBearMike, again, doesn't want to invest the cage onto the Hercules. They didn't want to, you know, maybe waste that a little bit too early. I almost want to think PolarBearMike has been a little bit hesitant on using them.
It just seems that he wants to get the perfect cage instead of trying to get for the one pick. We saw that Shadowq, I think, was the only person that was really caught in that Odin cage the first time around, and this time he just uses the Phantom on himself. But now with a 90-second cooldown, they can really go for another easy cage here.
You see that a lot from Scylla's, right? Where they kind of hold their ultimate sometimes looking for that reset instead of just investing the damage for a guaranteed kill. Well, it doesn't seem like Denial are interested in the Fire Giant just yet after getting picked off there. They are going to take a free Gold Fury. Most of them are full build, but they still do need Hurriwind to finish off his last item. That Soul Reaver actually going to be a big pickup here for Denial.
And Shadowq can also sell the Watcher's Gift once he completes up his 5th item. Probably going to go into the Mantle of Discord here, applying another stun if he gets low enough. Doesn't seem that Envy really wants to commit onto Shadowq, especially being so naturally tanky. As long as he's drunk, he's not going to take any damage, especially with that Spirit's Robe.
Spirit's Robe, he's got Pestilence, he's already got Spirits, oh, excuse me, I already said that, but he's working on, I think, of a Mantle of Discord as well, so going to have that stun. And actually, 2 already picked up, 1 for Homie, 1 for Benji. Those stuns going to come in crucial.
But now the pluck off the mark for CycloneSpin. Caught a little bit out of position, but the blink cage coming for PPM in the sky is Skeeledon, landing on the backline. Vetium in a lot of trouble. Forced out into the Sanctuary, gets knocked up, rolling into safety, into the scare. He's trying to find the snipes. 1, 2. Not really finding the second one, but the third one does connect onto Skeeledon, having to run away.
And now Vetium managed to get out. Skeeledon's trying to do the same. Benji off the mark on the flip. Kiki in a little bit of trouble, still getting chased down by Benji. PolarBearMike cut off by Homiefe on the right-hand side. Shadowq's just dealing with all those people on the left as the rest of the team chase down PolarBearMike. Snipe actually connects onto Benji and Homiefe, and Oceans looking for the final shot. Envy have done such a good job of baiting Denial into their jungle. They do find one, and now it's going to be hard for Denial to start up this Fire Giant.
Skeeledon, though, he's caught on the right-hand side. They're trying to spot him out. Shadowq jumps over the blue, but he's not there. The pull is not on the mark. So very close, but Hurriwind dashes into the Fire Giant. They know exactly where he's going to. CycloneSpin not able to really save his life, but now caught in an awkward position. He did use the dash. He could still get chased down. Oceans coming in.
Vetium wants to back right now. Oceans, nice juke. Good bomb stun over the wall, going to force Oceans to back off, but he's still going to dash forward. Looking for Benji. Crit's coming in, not doing a ton of damage just yet, but that Fatalis effect, a couple more hits is going to finish off Benji, and CycloneSpin wants this kill so bad.
But it was during the heal, so Benji's taking a lot of healing now, but he's caught in the cage. No more healing for you, Benji. That's going to be 2 dead for Denial. Still 2 dead for EnVyUs now.
Back and forth is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Just the mobility from the Thor and the Ratatoskr to get back in the fights after resetting. Ocean's passive as well. And it seems like Envy finally going to take this opportunity to try and secure this mid-tier one. It is going to go their way. Hurriwind just trying to make sure to secure Homiefe's speed buff, so that's not stripped away from him. And he actually picks it up himself, surprisingly enough. Homiefe definitely had the time to get there. Maybe that was a decision because Hurriwind hasn't been able to kind of get away from this Sobek.
Hurriwind really needs to find a way to reposition himself because there's a lot of aggression onto him between both PolarBearMike and CycloneSpin. And this is the point in time where the death respawn timers are taking forever. Benji still with 20 seconds, being able to lose their buff, lose the tier 1 tower. Now EnVyUs thinking like they want to start up this Fire Giant, or at least bait it in. They still have 10 more seconds.
starting to creep up into those minute-long death timers, always something scary. I'd almost like to see Hurriwind pick up a winged blade instead of the helm there. I mean, the issue he's been having really has been CycloneSpin's ultimate, and getting that little boost of speed there might be able to help him get away.
As long as he's also keeping a safe distance away from PBM, which is hard to do considering he does have Blink. Cyclone taking a decent amount of poke here, though, away from Oceans, and now Denial. They want to be able to look for something here with the respawn coming from Benji, and now Obo was being picked up by Vetium. He did sell the Icavile, so if everyone is grouped up for Envy, a lot of damage will come from Vetium.
We listened to Denial plan before. Let's listen in with the Steel Series listening to EnVyUs' comms as they try and take this fight.
One of Agni bombs. We have Bacchus. The back, he's at half. Bacchus still. I'm gonna hit it.
Their Phantom's still up. Bacchus Discord is down.
I'm fine. I'm healing in the back. Careful. I'm healing in the back. I'm healing in the back. I'm not in that fight.
Get out.
Healing fine now.
Yeah, do it.
Drop heal. Healing 10. Healing 5.
Herc Wing Blade is down.
They're gonna walk in. Okay, you still haven't healed up. Have a heal now. Yeah, healing. Back.
Stunning.
He's really low.
Nice shot.
Nice shot. Back. I'm gonna get killed. No, you're fine. Just back up.
Healing 6. Get out, Jingwei. Are you okay? Yeah, Vault, you're actually fine. You're fine. We could heal over here. I'm just gonna heal in tower.
I'm getting Herc chased.
Just ult if you have to. It was better than using B.
I just thought I could get out.
No, don't risk it.
They took words, so we all came back, yeah.
I'm backing. I need
I'll
to.
fly
They're
back.
not on
I'll
it.
fly back.
Neither team can get an edge in these fights. I mean, they are just back and forth. One person gets picked off, the others barely manage to escape with no health, and it seems to be an issue with Envy. Most notably, their team comp I think really struggles to chase down members on the retreat. But Denial seems to have been a little bit better time with that with Vetium snipes, but they're actually being used at the start of fights, so no ability to chase down those low targets.
This is getting to the power spike point where the Bacchus is starting to outweigh the Odin. We saw the amount of plays that PBM was able to do in the earlier stages of the game, but now he's kind of that one-trick pony with the cage. The Phantom pulling out wonders for Denial, being able to escape in earlier encounters, but now if they don't find the initial kills for Envy, they're going to be struggling because Shadowq has just more control between the belly flop and the burp.
Denial baiting this, I bet you, 2 times in a row. Vetium actually sticking on it for now. CycloneSpin hanging around, does have Wrath available. Same thing with Shadowq. Benji, very deep, does find a good stun onto PBM, but he's going to be walled off by the Thor. Hurriwind served up. He's got to try and reposition himself, and Vetium's taken to the sky, looking for the snipes on the back line, and he does take out Kiki. 2-man knockup as well. Skeeledon, trouble for PolarBearMike. The boulder's doing so much work. CycloneSpin barely able to get out of the cage there, but the Phantom going to allow Denial to chase him down. And finally, the fight goes Denial's way. Oceans was split pushing.
It just seems there's a big disconnect with Envy as they wanted to get the left side objective, and now they cost themselves the whole team fight and potentially the game. Kiki getting picked off that early in the backline. Great usage of those global ultimates between Vetium and Homiefe, picking off the chicken right off the bat, and now rewarded with this fire gen at the 40-minute mark. This is where Denial can start grouping up, knocking down these towers.
That's just so awkward. I mean, Oceans has been, and it's been full 5-on-5 fights, and I can understand. Let's try and get split push. We have Jingwei's passive, but Envy were 4v5 and not playing defensively. They were being the aggressors. I guess really scared of that fire giant being completed. Obviously, Denial did see Oceans on the map, and so they were more likely to commit to it, but maybe a little bit overzealous there.
They couldn't peel back quick enough. It was a great pull-push combination from Benji that found CycloneSpin as well, but now PolarBearMike trying to do what he can with that cage, but it's not going to be enough. Right side Phoenix gets completely melted.
And that's the thing here. We're very late into this game. Everyone in Denial is full build outside of the support, and that means these towers are just falling incredibly fast. That Titan's Bane doing a lot of work for Vetium. And I mean, even Homiefe, he's going to be shredding through him. Got a Titan's Bane himself and a Brawlers.
3 more minutes for this Fire Giant buff on Denial. So they find the first Phoenix. They're going to be able to back off for a little bit more, wait for that right timing. 2,500 gold for Homiefe. He's almost at that point where he can really get that 3K pot, and that's going to help wonders for the initiations of these team fights. He could even go into the protection pot if he wanted to worry about all the cooldowns he'll eat once he lands from his ultimate.
So funny enough, you know who I've seen go protection pot, and it's been incredibly effective?
DJ?
Vetium. It was on Apollo then, so he had the double protections from the Mez.
That makes sense.
But it's, the Hunters actually have enough damage as is. I mean, he's critting people for upwards of 700 plus. The Oboe doing a ton of teamfight damage and just those bonus protections. I mean, we've been seeing Envy really collapse on him and kind of focus on trying to kill him in those fights. That might not be a bad idea for him once he gets another 3K in hand.
An aggressive hunter that is in the front line is one of the most unexpected, surprising things to ever happen. If you can't burst him down quick enough, then his raw damage per second is going to be able to really carry him in the team fight. We've been, perfect rollback, avoiding Cyclone's pluck. Now forced into the defensive ultimate. PPM still holding on to his ultimate. Kiki's heal does come out, but Denial has the Fire Giant for the counter sustain.
Looping around the back right now. He is going to find Homiefe in the jungle, but his Magi's is forced, and this gives a window of opportunity for Denial. They push forward, find the pluck out of PBM, who just needs to jump away, but here comes Homie, and the boulder as well connects on a couple players. There's a lot of teamfight damage, no one getting low. Vetium trying to finish him off, looking for the snipe, waits for Skeeledon.
Benji finds it, and now they're going to continue on the tier 2 tower, 5-on-4, finding a clean pick onto Skeeledon. Vetium connects on the first two, missing the third, but Benji was there to clean up.
No ults. I mean, Skeeledon has his, but he's dead right now. Another pluck as Benji tries to zone out. Homiefe pushing forward and big crits from Vetium. It's going to be the second Phoenix. Fire Waves pushing in on the right-hand side. And Denial, they're going to play it safe. It's been a back-and-forth game. They got a tier 2 in mid. They still got to deal with, but Denial looking strong for this closeout.
Definitely. They have a lot of time. Also, 40 seconds for Skeeledon, 52 for PolarBearMike. 5-on-3 down this mid-Phoenix. Benji going to take it with his sustain now. CycloneSpin going to get stunned out. Going into the ultimate just to prevent the knockup, but Vetium doing so much damage.
Ignoring him completely, just goes for the Phoenix. CycloneSpin trying to distract, but Vetium rolls forward. He finds 7, and there's the double. Vetium 10, 1, and 11. Denial, they've made it to Super Regionals, and Vetium, I think with his best performance of the weekend to close out.
Such great snipes coming out of him in the first game. Second game, carrying his team in the late game. The crits were just too real. EnVyUs not able to really find too much in this set. Denial going to Super Regionals.
You know, shout-outs to Envy, though. Again, you know, they came in, I think, with some decent expectations. Knew, I think, that they were the weakest team, but felt like they would be able to hold their own against some teams. It took them until day 3, obviously losing both games, but they looked a lot better, which gives hope for them in that gauntlet.
It's all about the synergy from Homie and Hurriwind, I would say. The way they've been able to just play off of each other has been working wonders for Denial. They even picking their gods so early in the draft, having the Agni Thor to respond to the tactics from EnVyUs, even countering the Ra here with the Divine Ruin, something that a lot of Agni players don't necessarily do, and this is why they opted for the Divine Ruin on Agni instead of picking the Odin themselves, because they have plenty of time to counter that Ra pick if they wanted to.
And it really seems like a lot of those fights came down to spacing. We saw a lot of players, you know, going very deep. The Magi's Blessings and the Spirit Robes really paying off. Mantle of Discord for Homiefe because they were able to get out a lot of their damage, reset, be very close to death, but manage to escape. And we really saw Envy struggling, trying to kill those players that managed to get out of the fights. Didn't really have a lot of that chase potential.
Unfortunately for Envy, they don't qualify to Super Regionals, but they will be heading into the Gauntlet. But throughout this whole weekend, they've been playing a little bit better and better and more solid. So this is their first land together as a team. PolarBearMike coming in as their shot caller, their leader, their newer kind of rookie, not necessarily rookie, because
no, he's played last
year as with Eager, but still to be able to command the respect of CycloneSpin and Kiki is no easy task.
Well, Denial qualified for Super Regionals, and we got the analyst desk on standby to break it down.
Well, we saw a couple of signs of life there, but at the end of the day, the pulse is going in the other direction. Congratulations, Denial. They have secured their spot.
Hey, it wasn't easy. You know, it looked like that was a very back-and-forth game, but at the end, Vetium comes up huge. CycloneSpin makes a big play, steals the Fire Giant away from Denial, but just wasn't enough to deny them Super Regionals. Not so bad, right?
Tully, you want to see? You want to just trade?
No, Tully's gone.
In any event, 10 points for Soar and 9 points for Denial right there. So now it's the battle for Enemy and Envy. Now we're deciding on how that gauntlet is going to look as far as the plans are situated. There's a number of players. I wonder who we're going to get for the Denial interview here, as we're likely going to talk to them. Do you know the guys from Denial at all?
Yeah, I speak to Hurriwind quite a bit, and then Homie obviously used to be on Soar. I hang around those guys quite a bit, so I know Homie pretty well too.
Yeah, I enjoy those guys on Denial. I'm give or take, I think they have a lot of fun, and watching them win right there is not a bad deal. So, how'd they do it?
They did really well. I mean, it was Vetium coming up big in the late game, basically, on that Rom. I mean, this has been the god. On day 1, it was the Neath. He looked really great on the Neath, and ever since, it's been him on this Rom looking very, very comfortable.
It's so hard to kill a Rama late game, and Vetium especially has very good positioning. With the roll, with the ult, you pretty much go untouched for 3-4 seconds, and he was pretty much untouched throughout the entirety of the late game.
And that was not quite an accident. You know, the team is drafted in such a good way that, you know, whether Vetium was safely positioning or not, he generally had somebody on his side. And we were talking about the picks a couple of times there on that one. How do you think the Odin affected the game?
I mean, it looked like it was going to turn the game in EnVy's favor. Before Shadowq hit level 12, before he had that Phantom online, it was PolarBearMike getting big cage after big cage. Benji not able to do anything about it really because you can't heal as Hercules in that Odin cage. But after Shadowq hits level 12, he picks up the Phantom. It really made the team fights for Denial a lot easier.
To me, not enough follow-up in that Odin cage to really merit the pick. I think Sobek solo, obviously, if it can survive the early game, extremely good. I just don't think Odin did enough in those late stages of the game to merit the pick.
Yeah, that's kind of my overall take on Odin is just that sometimes if Odin doesn't make enough of an impact, he just winds up falling flat and making zero impact. And unfortunately, that's kind of what we landed on. So as we said, Denial does qualify themselves for land, but it's going to be an unbearable situation for those watching on and dealing with the gauntlet. They're going to be looking up. And you can see Challenger out of Europe is Burrito, but on the west side, on the North American side, you've got Most Wanted, not Modern Warfare. They'll be the Challenger team coming out after their victory over Astral. And then we see Noble, we see Allegiance, and then EnVy and Enemy. What's your take on the Gauntlet stage?
In my opinion, Enemy clear favorites here out of all these teams. Allegiance also another strong favorite. Interested to see how Most Wanted fares against the SPL teams because we haven't really seen them play against any SPL teams ever, really. So.
Yeah, I know that Eager was scrimming them a couple of times behind closed doors. Eager has been really scrimming basically anyone who shows up. So I know that they've been playing them. What's your take on the Gauntlet stages?
It's going to be fun. I agree with Yannick. I think it's mostly going to be between Enemy and ALG. We don't know the seeding quite yet where Enemy is going to be seeded in the Gauntlet, so we'll have to see if they've got a tough road, a long one. Even if they are the best team, we see it all the time in traditional sports. The best team doesn't always win. Sometimes you run into some tough competition.
Don't do that anymore.
Best team.
Yeah, don't do that. Thank you very much.
No, thank you.
So over there, we have an interview coming to you. It's the Iron Homie standing next to Hindu Man. Let's see what they have to say.
Yeah, thank you so much, Analyst Desk. Obviously, Homiefe joining me. First of all, don't look scared. I'm not going to eat you, okay? Let's not have that game. Congratulations, first of all. You guys made it through the group of death, supposedly. We can say the death part on that one. From your opinion, did you expect to come out in the top 2?
Yeah, I pretty much expected to come out top 2. I expected second next to Thor, honestly.
And with the games that went on so far, were you happy with the performance that you guys put in to get this far, or was there definitely kinks that came in along the way?
Definitely overall sloppy play by us, but by Super Regionals, I think we'll have it cleaned up.
And you've also got Thor as well later on today still. You've got one more set against them. Are we going to see any spicy picks coming out there, though?
Maybe, just because we've already qualified for Super Regionals.
You're just happy with the second spot there. So with the second spot more than likely going your way, that does mean you're going to have to face off against Eager at the Super Regionals. How do you feel about your chances there?
I think we have really good chances. I mean, coming to this LAN, we had pretty bad practice overall. So going into Super Regionals, we'll probably have good practice, so we'll be really prepared.
And with your, obviously you guys have transitioned from that Thor roster as well, you and Hurriwind as well. The adaptation seems to have worked for you with the side of Denial as well. How is the squad coming together now? It seems like it's starting to actually find a form.
I really love playing with Denial just because everyone on the team is open to criticism. If anyone makes a mistake, you can just call them out on it and they'll fix it.
Awesome. Do you have any shout-outs you want to give before we let you go?
Yeah, shout-outs to Denial and shout-outs to my team, especially Hurriwind. He's an amazing teammate.
Well, thanks so much for joining us, Homiefe. That is Denial qualified. Still 2 more sets to go, though. We'll get to see a little bit more of Enemy in the action after the break.